Tim Petrwich for Dateline Marion and WGGH Radio, and we're here for our weekly visit with Marion head football coach Jason Dunning. And the Wildcats have an important game this Friday night. We're going to talk about that. It's important for a couple of different reasons. But let's go back and talk about last week, and it was a 28-6 loss to Cahokia. And I think the first thing I want to bring up is, before we kind of get into details of the game, is, we've talked the last couple weeks about winning the first four, losing that fifth one, what happened last year. I look after Friday night, it seems like, the margin of victory was bigger this time for Cahokia, but it doesn't feel like the game last year did. I mean, last year you lost several players to injury in that Cahokia game. This year you came out relatively healthy, and it just doesn't feel like the same kind of a game as last year.
No, I 100% agree with you, Petro. The fact that last year it was just a physical ball game that they dominated, and they were able to get big shots on our guys. And Jordan went out, and Patrick went out, and even Ryan Cologne kind of got dinged up, and it just kind of started the tailspin. And I thought Friday night, early on defensively we played well in the first half. Offensively, they took us out of our rhythm. We got behind the sticks, partly on our own fault, partly on some calls that just took the flow kind of out of it. But I thought we battled, and they're a team that who knows what happens in the future. But Coach Dunning and the Wildcats would be really excited for another crack, another opportunity at how they play, what they do, and it'd be a ball game that we would welcome a challenge to.
Right now, if you look ahead, if both teams are in the postseason right now, Cahokia is 4A, Marion's 5A. I will say this, after watching them play, Cahokia is going to be a tough out in 4A.
Oh, absolutely they are. And, they just have Cahokia, their MO year in and year out always stays the same. They've got a good mix of size up front on both sides of the ball, skilled kids that can run. I think you've got a 3-year starter at quarterback that understands the game, and they are good enough and talented enough that they force you to play a near-perfect ball game to beat them, because they've got so many weapons that are just a missed tackle away from taking it to the house. And, early on we were worried about Mims and trying to take away the passing game. And I think early on the weather did a little bit, but I think hats off to the Wildcats secondary, to the fact that they were able to really kind of stifle what Cahokia wanted to do, throwing the ball wise, and then they forced him to the ground, and and their running back kind of by committee a little bit, but they kind of got into a little bit of a scheme that we were flying so hard because we knew we had to take great angles, and we just kind of over pursued and gave him the cutback. And he's, like I said, you got that many guys on the other side of the ball pursuing, and you got to have that back taken care of. And we weren't able to, as shifty as he was, we over pursued, and we just gave him the cutback. And and we got ourselves behind, and then we got ourselves into situations where we were trying to do things which gave them extra possessions, going for it on fourth down, not getting it, and you give them that many extra opportunities to run plays, and they're going to find stuff. And they're athletic. They're a good football team. You're right. 4A, depending on, and you get to the postseason, it's all about matchups. And they get a team that they can handle up front and allow their skilled guys space to move. It's gonna be a challenge.
You talked about running back by committee, and Coriante Midget had the bulk of their yards. 278. But it's funny that you said that, because the few times that the Collier kid ran, midget's number 8, Collier's number 3, you can't tell them apart because they both run the same way, and they're both so quick. And the thing I noticed was that, and both of them did this, a lot of times when a running back is running along the line waiting for a hole to open up, they kind of slow down a little bit for that hole to open up. And these two guys, they turned at full speed. They turned 90 degrees at full speed.
And that's something that we don't have, that type of runner. We don't have the ability to simulate that and practice that. And like I said, you've got to take, it puts the defense in a bind, because you've got to take angles to get there. Because if you try to slow play them, you don't get to that, and they're just going to take the side and take off. So our guys are flying there, and he's just more athletic. And you're right, he sees just any type of cutback space. And a lot of times people think cutback is going all the way across. Cutback for them, for Cahokia, is just getting vertical. If you're just a step ahead, he's able to get that foot in the ground. And you're right, he goes north and south really, really quickly. They both do. A lot of Cahokia kids do that. It's just how they run. And we just kept trying to make stuff happen on offense, and it didn't quite click. And a lot of in order to beat Cahokia, you can't allow them to come downhill, and you can't allow them to make you one-dimensional. And we got behind, and they knew we had to start taking shots, and they just kind of backed off the coverage, took away the deep throws, and then up front, their linemen are just teeing off. Here they come, here they come, here they come, because you don't have a whole lot of plays, and they just got pressure, and it's just a rough ball game. So.
And they did a good job, too, of even when you tried the screen game, they did a good job of reading those screens and having someone keying on that running back.
Well, and I think partly what leads to that is, they're able to take care of the run by what they do. Then they force you into positions where they kind of knew it was coming. And the screen game's effective when you keep them off balance and doing stuff, and they're just trying to. But linebackers set well. They knew that the D-line could get pressure. The secondary's taken care, and it's like, okay, this is what we're narrowed down to. And we did hit a couple big screens, but we had some flags come out that kind of negated that. And you only get so many of those before they start really starting to set on it and go, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this. We're going to take away your screens. And now we're really making it difficult to move the ball in our offense on what we're trying to do.
Good to see Logan Hoffman back in the game, and he actually had a nice game offensively.
He did, and then he scored our only touchdown. To be honest, I wasn't sure where that ankle was, but he said starting last week that things felt good, and even in the ball game, just checking on him, he felt good. And I think to hit on a note that you talked about just a while ago is the fact that the Wildcats got out of there pretty healthy. We unlike last year where we go into the Centralia game with nine starters out, not able to play based on that 14-0 loss. That everybody's good. Logan's going to be even healthier. No major complaints on the injury front, so that's a huge positive.
Callahan, not a bad game, not his normal game offensively, but at the same time, even with the wind the way it was and having to take shots, threw his first interception, and it was a situational interception. It was almost like a Hail Mary type play, and so that's going to happen, but other than that, again, just another solid game controlling the offense as well as he could considering the circumstances.
And I think that would be one of Callahan's major pluses, is that he knows what he can do throwing the ball, and you're right. We were in a situation where we tried to make something happen early on. I listened to on the headset hearing Coach Vanoy and Coach Martin kind of talking. Early on, we ran that double move, and the safety played it in such a way that they kind of back pocketed it, so to say. Which means they saw something. Let's wait and go back, and if they do the same thing, it's going to be wide open. Well, the problem was that's great on first or second down, but when it's on fourth down, they're not biting on anything. They understand. Cahokia, their secondary are smart. They understand the situation and going, hey, it's fourth down. You're not running a double move. We got it doubled back there, and Cal had a little bit of pressure and underthrew the ball a little bit. And
into the wind.
Into the wind, and it's one of those things that, okay, we took a shot. Yes, it goes down on your stats, but in the big picture of things, going, that's not a throw that, if given the opportunity, he wouldn't have thrown that ball. But based on the situation, we didn't have any other options. We got to take a shot and hopefully put it in position where Sam can use his athleticism and go up and get it. But the ball being a little bit underthrown and held up a little bit in the wind, and plus Cahokia's got guys blanketing him all over the place, and they didn't play it quite the same way. But
I got a message from Alex Henry's dad before the game last week saying he wasn't feeling really well. Don't be surprised if his game is a little off. If that's off, he needs to not feel well every week. 12 tackles, 3 for loss.
Yes.
He was all over the place defensively. Him and Hudson Wade, even though Hudson got hurt, both still in double. But Hudson came back.
Yeah.
Both in double figures of tackles.
And you're right. And the thing that I love is Alex is really becoming a student of the game defensively. He understands where he is. He understands the role. He pays attention. And what I mean by that is, so we had seen on film that they would line up Mims, and really when they wanted to get him the ball, they would do something, we call it show him something shiny. They do something over here to draw your attention, kind of like a magician. They want you to look over here, but here's where the play is really at. And they had done it under a little different set where they would go 2 by 2 and motion a guy, show you something shiny to hit Mims on the little screen that he had taken for big plays against Carbondale that we had seen on film, and that they had done against Jackson as well. Well, all of a sudden they get in trips and they motion a guy to draw attention, and you can just see Alex just sit. He knows where the ball's going, and they threw a fast screen out to Mims out there, and all of a sudden Alex takes off and Ryan Colon takes off, and we held their best receiver in check and took their main play and just kind of, eliminated it right there. And I don't think they ever really went back to it because how well we played it. And he understood it, and he keeps just doing what he's coached to do up front and getting after people. And he's having a really, really good season, and two great weeks back to back, and hopefully it continues. He needs to have a big game Friday night as well.
And Hudson showing what he showed at the end of the year last year too. Mm-hmm. He continues to be solid in that linebacker spot.
And just running and just playing the game the way it's meant to be played. Linebackers need to be all over the place, and sometimes it gets him a little bit of trouble because he's so cranked up to go make a play and he over pursues a little bit, but he's still only a junior. Mm-hmm. So he's still got a lot more football for the Wildcats still to play. And I kind of our broken record a little bit at times is the names that you keep throwing out are juniors and juniors.
Right.
And juniors. From Callahan to Alex Henry to Hudson Wade to Logan Hoffman to Sam Atkins, all guys that are the foundation kind of the team right now, and led by a good group of seniors up front, in particular, Carson and Dalton Bowles and Ngoni and those guys. And so it's a fun season. I'm happy that we're still rolling with things.
Yeah, and you talk about those linemen in a game like Cahokia where they have to tee off on your quarterback, or they don't have to, but they get to because you're in the passing situations. They did a good job of keeping Callahan upright the whole game.
They just keep battling. Coach Skeet does a tremendous job with those linemen, and those are kind of his special little kids. they're his, and he holds them to very, very high standards. And there's times that I'm like, you have to love football to take Coach Skeet's coaching and what he does, and he gets so much out of those kids, and they understand the importance that they have to fight and do their job for the offense to go and to keep Callahan, as you said, upright and give our offense the ability to throw the ball and do some things. And it's fun to watch them work.
This week now is the opportunity for the Wildcats to rewrite history. Change the script from last year. Yep. You got a chance to turn around and bounce back. As you said, you're relatively healthy. You got a Centralia team coming in here that is got a better record than they did last year when you played them. They've lost twice by a combined total of 3 points. And offensively, they can do some things. They got a freshman quarterback, a freshman receiver, and then a running back the last 2 weeks has put up more than 200 yards in each game. So they've got some people who can do some things offensively.
And just to add to that, too, I know Coach Gooey, he does a great job, but now you add in the mix, you bring Ray Calling back as the OC, and he's able to put that freshman in situations where, he can scheme you, he can move those chess pieces around a little bit, and he's able to allow the skills, which I've seen that kid growing up because he plays in the same. My son has gone against him, being a year behind him the last 3 or 4 years, and seen that kid develop as a quarterback. And last year they handed the 8th grade program a huge loss, but going, that kid's going to be talented. And I wasn't sure when in the season he would kind of get the nod, but he's a big, strapping kid and understands the role of playing quarterback. And you're right. I think Coach Calling and Brad have the ability to move those kids around, put the running back in space, get you concerned about the passing, and you're kind of in that, dang if you do, dang if you don't. If you load the box, he's talented enough and the receivers are talented enough to make plays. But if you start setting guys and drop it into coverage and trying to play nickel and dime type defenses, he's going to carve you up on the inside run and get the ball in the hands of the running back, and he can bounce it, and it's athletic, and it's all about numbers. Can he manipulate the box well enough to make the numbers in his favor? And it's going to be, sometimes we use an analogy if the game becomes kind of a fist fight in a phone booth. And I think Friday night is going to be, on both sides of the ball, a game of chess. Can you do stuff? Can you manipulate the other team? Can you make it look like one thing but be this? Can he move some pieces around to gain the advantage? And it's going to be, I'm excited about Friday night. I'm excited about making it scheme on scheme, and let's play ball.
You talked earlier about, in the Cahokia game, about how the defensive players are starting to see and understand what you're trying to teach them and learning the game. How much does that come into play in a game like this, where you talk about all the different chess moves that Centralia is going to try to make? Your kids now understanding the game and how to play defense better can counteract that.
And that's when the game gets really, really fun and gets to a point where we're going, okay, we often talk about, just like with Cahokia, they wanted to throw haymakers. And they wanted to hit the big pass play and score and get Mims the ball. And we countered that. But what we failed to do was they went to something else. We've got to do a better job of going and taking away that little jab. We focused on the haymaker, the knockout punch, the 80-yard pass play, but we've got to go back to, okay, can we cover that but still be sound on the run? And you're right, as these kids continue to gain experience, as a coach, it gives you more opportunities to develop them mentally where you can change the game and not make it too complicated, but put them in a position where they can do some special stuff, and they understand it enough, and scheme-wise it becomes fun when you can not only take on the big blows, but you're able to counterpunch right there with the opposing side and going, okay, we'll match personnel, we'll match shifts, we'll change coverage, we'll disguise coverage, and then they're like, okay, and the light bulb starts to go off, and it's gonna be a good ball game. It's gonna be fun.
How important is it now to have a full roster and have guys back like Logan Hoffman and some of these guys that can now, on both sides of the ball, spell some people and add some more depth?
Yeah, and you look for, there's certain characteristics that you look for when guys start to get tired. And where the problem was last year, we didn't have anybody else to put in. And so the game kind of slowed down. Our ability to play at that high level came down a little bit. And now you're right, being able to put those guys in and allow them to have a little bit of a breather, get Max off the field for a few plays and let Logan run and let Max focus on certain things. And Logan and Max create problems for defenses at times. Excuse me. Because you just can't find them. They're able to get in there and they're shifty. And I don't think when Logan scored on the little cross play, I don't think they could find him. And sometimes when bigger guys, like when Sam runs that play, Sam's 6'3", 6'4", you're able to see him. But when Logan and Max get in there, they're just able to be patient and find holes. And but yeah, it's nice to have going in where you've got all of these options and all these pieces, and you're not limited and going, okay, I like this play. The problem is this kid doesn't run it as well as that kid, and now they're all so interchangeable and keep them fresh, and we rotate guys, and it's nice to have all your pieces at your disposal.
Now, I want to say that we're not making a statement about masculinity with our pink shirts, although it has been said that real men do wear pink.
They do.
But Friday night has a little bit of extra special meaning.
Yeah.
It's the annual Pink Out game, and it's something that the Wildcats have done now for several years in order to raise funds to help people in the community and in the district in their battle with cancer. And just talk about how that has evolved over the years that you've been associated with it.
It becomes so enjoyable to see and give our kids reason to play beyond just the game itself. There's purpose behind it. There's intent. All of the jerseys are people that have either lost their battle with cancer or are currently fighting the cancer, or they're survivors of it. And to honor those people and to think that on the back of your jersey, as to steal the phrase from Coach Martin, is somebody's number one. There's a name back there that is special. And even though our players may not know that person individually, it's the fact that you can play the game with a certain extra effort, knowing that that person is being honored. And that's such a beautiful thing, especially at the end, Petro, when we line our kids up and the recipients are there waiting for their jersey. And sometimes they may know that person, maybe grandma, maybe grandpa, maybe some family member, but oftentimes they don't have a clue who that person is. And just to create that bond, that interaction. And in our pregame, we'll talk about playing in such a way that we can get as many jerseys out there on the field, because the people that sponsor those jerseys are looking for that number. And to hear that name, hear that number, and see that running across there and doing something is really, really, really a moment that I think is special. This year, a close friend, Dr. Justin Settle, lost his battle. And seeing my daughter, seeing Maddie have Settle on the back of his jersey, on the back of her jersey, and being able to walk down the line and just look over and glance at her and see it will be meaningful, a little extra this year, at least for me personally. But I think Coach Martin for years has done a tremendous job in that talk and putting it into perspective about that name is someone's number one. And we'll talk about the toughness, and we think about playing a physical football game as being tough, but we've got players on the team that have parents right now that are battling it, from Broomfield's mom to Caden Jacobs' dad, and having that on the back will hopefully fuel the Wildcats just a little bit more.
You talked about the fact that a lot of players will have someone they know on their jersey. Other players will have someone who they don't know. One of my favorite stories was a couple years ago, and I think it was Kanye Gunn who wore Mike Shornack's name on his jersey. And Kanye had never heard, he wasn't here when Mike was the athletic director, but Coach Martin told me that he went and studied and asked questions and learned all about Mike Shornack because he wanted to know who that was he was representing on the back of his jersey. And that, to me, shows how the players have embraced this idea.
It's amazing. And you're right. There's a sense of pride that comes over everybody when we do something like this. And I think from that story to, Coach Martin tells that he had a childhood teammate, and one year he wore that jersey for that player and what that kid meant, and that stuck with him. And I think everybody, you bring up Mike, and I think about the times when, early on, when we struggled those first 3 years. Mike Shornack never lost faith. He never lost faith in his program. He never lost faith in Coach Martin and the staff that we would get it turned around. And to think about how prideful he is, still looking down and knowing that, that name will always be associated and a part of Pink Out. And I think that, it's just, it's a night that one of the things I hate about the football season is how fast it goes. Mm-hmm. Because we'll have Friday night, and hopefully it's discussions about the win, but we've lost on Peak Out, a couple times. But it's like you have this moment when you're doing this interchange of jerseys and meeting the families, and then you don't get much time to reflect, because it's automatically, we come here, film, Sunday, it's now Centralia and Peak Out's over with. The Wildcats are preparing for Collinsville. But it's the moments afterwards, it's these discussions, looking back about how amazing those nights are, and these stories from Kanye and Coach Martin's friend and teammate, and now Dr. Settle, and all these memories of people, and how we get a chance to that night honor them. And I wish it could be a bigger, more reflective moment, but no, it'll be fun. It'll be special.
I got to ask this question. Several times you referred to over the course of the last couple of years, fist fight in the phone booth. Was there a fist fight in a phone booth or not over who got to wear Jameer's jersey this year?
You know what? I'm sure there was. But this is something that, as a coach, I get to worry about the ball game. There are a lot of people that are behind the scenes, from Joni Manfredo to Tiffany Hamoya. I went in the office last week, and people are coming to get their shirts. There are shirts everywhere. Pink Out takes over the office, and this is a really almost a year-round preparation that a lot of people think, oh, it's nice, I buy a jersey, here it is, it's done. No, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes work, from designing the T-shirts to getting the jerseys to printing them. We had, I think, 2 jerseys come in and they're wrong, and they're like, no, this can't be wrong. You have to absolutely fix it, because a lot of people put time into this, and this is a thing that I am fortunate enough that I get to be the head football coach, but I do not have to worry about Pink Out, because seeing those ladies in the office stressed about the image on the shirt, to the jerseys, to who's getting what, to when they can pick them up. I'm glad that they take care of that, but it gets to be a special night that the Wildcats enjoy, and it's a huge motivator for us.
Well, it comes up Friday night. Centralia comes to Wildcat Stadium, Pink Out night. There'll be plenty. If you haven't bought a T-shirt or didn't contribute for a jersey, there'll be plenty of raffles and fundraisers and ways you can contribute to the Pink Out. So come to the game.
Yes.
And not only come for a good cause, but also see some good football.
Amen.
7 o'clock here at Wildcat Stadium. That's Marion head football coach Jason Dunning. For Dateline Marion and WGGH Radio, I'm Tim Petrwich.